So with proportions, we're usually comparing two things. Maybe we're comparing how many miles we drove on how many gallons of gasoline we put in the car. That's a or could be a proportion. Proportions are always equations. Okay, so a proportion is an equation. And so we're going to be solving these equations. But anyway, back to what I was saying, we're comparing two things. And so you always have to know which way you're comparing them. It doesn't usually matter which way you choose to do it. You just have to be consistent. Okay, so here we have an example in medicine, and we're going to have more examples throughout this section. Pediatricians prescribe 5 milliliters of acetaminophen for every 25 pounds of a child's weight. Okay, so the proportion is we're comparing how many milliliters of acetaminophen, anyway, I'll just put A's, we're comparing that to how many pounds of weight, And you don't even have to write all that out. You could just put milliliters to pounds, and you'll know which one you're talking about then. Now, in a proportion, they're going to have to give us one of the cases. So we know for 5 milliliters, it's 25 pounds of weight. So for every 25 pounds that a child weighs, 5 milliliters of acetaminophen. I'm not even sure how to say that. Okay, now comes the question. How many milliliters? Okay, so we don't know the milliliters, so I'm going to put an X because the numerator is milliliters right now. Will the doctor prescribe for Amelia, who weighs 60 pounds? So we know Amelia's weight. She weighs 60 pounds. So that's the way the proportion's set up. The known part, this is what we know. We know it's 5 milliliters for every 25 pounds. And then what we don't know, the other part. We know the weight, but we don't know how much acetaminophen to prescribe. So that's what we're trying to figure out. Okay, so then once the proportion's set up, we can do the cross multiplication. So 5 times 60 is going to equal 25 times x. So 25 times x. Okay? So if I finish this off, I'm going to have 300 on the left equals 25x. So I'll divide both sides by 25. And then I just need to know how many times 25 goes into 300. Once, I think 12. So now don't just leave your answer 12. What does that mean? It means we need 12 milliliters of acetaminophen. But at least put the units, okay? So you could put what you're prescribing. So if you were doing this for a doctor or something, you would say, okay, prescribe Amelia 12 milliliters of acetaminophen. Okay, so that was that example.